Welcome back, viewers. Before the break, we were talking about sports medicine with Dr. Peter Larkins, and one case which was very, very sad. It was heard in New South Wales in 2008, called Green's case. And Green was a 16-year-old schoolboy, played rugby for the school, and was injured, a neck injury, and he sued the Country Rugby Football League of New South Wales. The parties in that case agreed that the value of the claim was $6.5 million. That would have been a lot of medical care for life. However, Green failed on the issue of negligence, that there was nothing that the Country Football League could have done to stop that injury. So,
he was a tetraplegic. What's that mean, Doug?
Well, it means he's had a spinal injury at a sufficiently high level close to the brain that it's affected upper body and lower body. So it's like the quadriplegia. Okay. This is a more familiar term that the viewers would understand, Tony. And it basically means you're losing nerve function from a very high level in the cervical spine. And
so he's got some function somewhere, but not.
Yeah, brain function usually. Yeah. I mean, I don't know the details of this case. I wasn't involved, but it's one of the more severe levels of spinal damage that you can get. And unfortunately, it's a recognised thing in rugby that league that there has been, and rugby union, that there has been neck injuries associated with scrum accidents.
Yeah. Just by way of background, Harry, this fellow was 5'9", and he weighed about 57 kilos.
And long,
like
thin.
Myself.
Yeah, long, thin, but the long, thin neck. Long, thin neck.
Yeah, and I guess, look, over the years of our knowledge of football code injuries in Australia, across all codes, rugby clearly has had the most head and neck injuries. It's well known that, not AFL, but rugby has. And if you have a long, thin neck and you play in the front row of the scrum, there has been more than one case documented of cervical spine vertebra injuries associated with the neck being totally flexed forward, chin onto the chest. And that does put enormous strain and stress on. So in theory, kids with long, thin necks are discouraged and probably should be prevented from playing in certain positions on the field. It's one of the few sports where we can say that injury is associated with that body type.
So there's a risk that may cause injuries.
Absolutely, cause injury, and therefore don't put yourself into that.
Well, it's a higher risk than normal. That's the reality.
Yeah,
I think ultimately the court found voluntary assumption of risk. That the child. And the other piece of evidence was that even if they'd been warned, he probably still would have played.
Well, that happens in a lot of circumstances where, we're all warned that you might have a car accident if you get in your car, but we still go driving.
Well, Harry, the evidence was from him and also his mother.
The mother.
That if he knew the risks associated with playing in the front row, he still would have played.
He still would have played.
Yeah. So, well, there's your answer. I mean, voluntary risk, you can't argue against that. I mean, I can tell you might sprain your ankle playing footy or netball or whatever you want to do, and you'll say, yeah, but I know that I'm going to play. And
or maybe the club and the association should take it further and say, look, you're not playing.
Well, I mean, that's a question of putting some sort of mandate in place to say we're going to stop people with that sort of neck, and therefore you've got to screen people. So it's really complicated, because that means that some medically trained person has to assess your body and say, you've got this sort of neck, or we x-ray every neck for every kid that wants to play and say, you can play, you can't.
Well, it's a bit like you said in the episode last week where you've got kids playing against each other and they're the same age, but they're so much different.
It can be done, but we're going to an extreme prevention strategy, but if there was enough fuss about it, it can be done.
Yep. But your role has been historically as a sports physician, which is, dare I say, a growing specialty as it's evolved in Australia.
Well, certainly in Australia, I said we're a very sporting country. We've had a medical association that's got a sport flavour since 1954, when we were heading for the 1956 Olympics, and that was the origin of sports medicine in Australia, Harry. Probably you were around for that, as was Herb Elliott.
I was at the MCG.
But now we have an Australasian College of Sports Physicians, Australia and New Zealand, involved in that. So we've got about 110 highly qualified medical specialists in Australia that have done a 4-year fellowship program, which gives them a qualification that is unique. And very few countries in the world have that. Australia is recognised for having a great sport culture. We're also recognised for having great sports medicine culture with our AIS, as I said, all of our preparation of our elite teams, whether it's the Socceroos or our hockey team, our rowing, our track and field, our swimming. We do very well. We bat above our weight, as we say, or hit above our weight in terms of international sport. And sports physicians are associated with most of the national teams, Harry, with the Olympic team and with, as I said, hockey, Socceroos. And it just gives our top athletes access to information. That filters down to all of, hopefully the messages that we learn from the elite level do filter down into the community.
But a lot of what you do is managing people. isn't it?
Well, my own practice as a consultant sports physician, I'm sorting out people that have had problems. I mean, I still have a practice. People think I don't, but I actually do have a real job working in the practice situation. And I see people that are not sports people. It's interesting, in our practice, you don't have to be a sports person to be a sports physician. You might just have a sore knee or a sore shoulder. And I see 70-year-old ladies with a sore shoulder, but they want the same treatment that Chris Judd's going to have, or they want the same treatment that elite player or Harry Kuehl is getting. So they come in with a hip injury and they say, well, doc, what sort of scan? So sports medicine does contribute from elite messages right through to the non-elite performer.
And training, again, is on-the-job training? If people
the program is a 4-year program. The thing that's unique about it in Australia, again, is most of the doctors are training in private practice. So they're not in a public hospital where sports medicine is very limited in terms of the experience you'll get. They're actually working with other qualified sports physicians, getting their training program over a 4-year period with all the exams along the way. But you're actually training on the job. So you're in the real world, doing cases, seeing patients along the way, as well as working with a sports team and doing research.
In those qualifications, do they include like physiotherapy type qualifications and things like that?
This one is just medical. So we're only talking about medical graduates who have done their normal university training as a doctor, then their hospital training as a resident medical officer, and then they do an exam to get into the program and then do 4 more years. So you're talking about 8 to 12 years total training time to be a sports physician. Physiotherapy, again, is a university program, so you do your schooling, get into physiotherapy school. So there's different pathways in sports medicine you can do. You can go into psychology, you can go into fitness and conditioning, you can go into physiotherapy, or you can do the traditional medical way, which is where I've come from.
Okay. But as we discussed last week, the elite teams in Australia have full-time professional doctors to look after them, and but has it prevented a lot of injuries, in your opinion?
There's no question.
Over a period of time.
There's no question. I think there's a big emphasis on making sure that the elite players are there to play. As I said, that you won't be earning your money if you're sitting on the sidelines. Yeah. So we've got some very valuable players playing at the various sports. From the Harry Kuehls, right down to whether it's Gary Ablett playing at AFL level, or our awesome foursomes, rowers. You think of our really elite people that have been successful over a period of time. It's because their medical staff behind them have been able to keep them on the track and get over the injuries, with the inevitable injuries, get treated well by the physiotherapists and the massage therapists and the doctors, but then they're brought back in.
And tell me, has it extended the life of AFL players?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question. We look at all the advances in keyhole surgery, arthroscope surgery, which used to sometimes wreck a player, and a knee injury would put them out.
Well, John Coleman was very famous.
Peter Hudson, Polly Farmer.
You've got the last
go back.
which is interesting, Doc.
So what we are doing now with all these medical advances, we're actually extending the career. So you might have a really bad knee injury, get rehabilitated, and come back and get another shoulder injury. So we're actually extending even people with arthritic knees at a young age. Which is a dilemma, because after they finish their career, they'll still have the arthritis, but they're getting more time out of their career through arthroscope treatment, for example. So it's an interesting balance about keeping people going.
Doc, I don't want to cut you short, Harry. Doc, it's at the end of that segment. We're going to have to get you back, Doc, I think.
I think maybe the grand final week. Something around these.
It's not as if I've got anything on that week.
We'll see how we can have a bit of a stash there.
We'll see. If Geelong are playing, I'll be very busy, Harry, but hopefully hopefully contribute to more in the future.
Okay.
I want to thank the doctor for coming along, Harry.
Thanks very much.
Viewers, thanks for watching.
It's a fascinating part of the law and medicine, where law and medicine meet.
Look forward to seeing you back in the future, Doc.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Harry.
We're going on a sponsors break, and we're going to be back with Caffey's Mailbag just after a break. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you.